Hello and good evening. I'm Melissa Idris.
And I'm Sharad Kuttan.
Welcome to Consider This. This is the show where we want you to consider and then reconsider what you know of the news of the day. The upcoming Sarawak elections will see 349 individuals contesting for 82 seats in the State Assembly. This surpasses the record number of the candidates in 2016, which was at 229. The Election Commission is targeting 70% turnout on polling day, which is December the 18th. But will this third major election that's held during the pandemic buck trends in terms of campaigning dynamics and voter enthusiasm? And how are political stakeholders preparing for it in Sarawak? Let's ask our first guest tonight, Datuk Sri Wong Soon Koh. He's the president of Parti Sarawak Bersatu. Datuk Sri Wong, your party is fielding 70 candidates for the Sarawak elections, 70 candidates with such a high number of candidates. I'm wondering what the strategy is going into the elections.
Yeah. Parti Sarawak Bersatu is local-based, Sarawak-based, which is an independent political party with no affiliation with any of the political party. We are a party that belongs to peoples of Sarawak, and we are in a very unique position to fight for the rights of the Sarawak people. And I can see that the general sentiments on the ground for change are very strong. After 58 years of rule by one single party, namely Barisan Nasional and now GPS. And these sentiments for change on the ground are very strong. After all, they have ruled for 58 years, and Pakatan Harapan also was in government for 22 months. So it is time we ask for people for a change. Give us 5 years, then we will bring about changes for a better Sarawak.
That's three. What prevents the Sarawak-based opposition parties from coming together? Would they stand a better chance with an electoral pact or some such, coordinated effort to defeat GPS?
We have assembled together 70 very well qualified candidates in various professions, and I think ours is a multiracial political party. All communities are well represented in our lineup, and I think we do enjoy ground support across Sarawak, and I think we will be able to win enough seats, perhaps, to be an alternative government to GPS, alternative government to the people of Sarawak. Yeah.
Okay, and what would you do differently, Datuk Sri? You said a little bit earlier that there is a general sentiment for change. I'm wondering what kind of feedback you're receiving from the ground, from voters, and how your party might respond to it.
In the past 2 years, I traveled about 60,000 miles throughout the length and breadth of Sarawak from south to north. Everywhere I went, there is a big turnout, tens and thousands of them, and wearing our party uniform. And I could sense the mood, the sentiments for change on the ground are very strong. You can see that after 58 years of rule by Barisan Nasional and GPS, generally people are still very poor, lacking in basic infrastructure, basic amenities, particularly in the outlying area. We don't have water supply, electricity supply, road connectivity is not there. A lot of time I have to use Timber Road and Plantation Road, and let alone, of course, internet coverage and all that. So people well-being is the one that we are aiming at. we would like to share with the people the wealth of Sarawak, not like what the present government is doing. They are going for mega projects, big projects, unrealistic projects, which do not bring direct benefit to the people. People's wish for a better life is what is our goal and mission. If we are given a chance, we want to share the resources, the financial resources of Sarawak with the general population. This is
sorry, we're running out of time. I want to ask you a very quick question. Do you think the Sarawak elections have been conducted on a level playing field, that the opposition as well as the incumbents have an equal chance either with the media or through traumas and so on and so forth, SOPs? Are they an encumbrance to the political opposition in Sarawak?
Yes, indeed. We are at a disadvantage. The government, the GPS, can use the government machinery, organize functions using government agencies and departments, and they are everywhere giving out grants, giving out projects and all that. But we are at a disadvantage. We have to be bound by SOP, and we are quite restricted in our movement. But we are doing our best. We'll comply with SOP, but rather restricted, but we'll do our best. We'll do what we can to do the campaigning. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us on the show today. Datuk Sri Wong Soon Koh of Parti Sarawak Bersatu. We're going to take a quick break here and consider this. We will be right back with more. Stay tuned.
Amanah di tangan kita. Adat, budaya dan semangat menjadi kesinambungan perpaduan tanah air yang tercinta. Berteraskan adab yang terpahat di jiwa dan raga. Marilah bersama kita membina negara Malaysia.
Untuk memastikan Malaysia ada ke depan dan maju.
Induknya adalah Melayu.
Balik kepada Islam. Orang yang membuat polisi.
Kalau itu yang dikehendaki, fine. Mungkin kita berbeza pandangan.
Tapi kita mempunyai kuasa yang boleh menentukan budaya di masa hadapan.
Polisi yang mesra wanita, sudah tentu dia akan datang daripada pemimpin wanita.
Asrama Mahat Tahfiz Jawaban.
Bila sentuh soal berita, tiada masa untuk tunggu. Kepada anda kami bawakan fakta, susulan dan kupasan yang terkini. Tiada drama dan tiada pengulangan. Usah tunggu lama-lama. AWANI 745 lebih awal dari biasa.
Hi, you're watching Consider This. I'm Melissa Idris. With me is Sharad Kutan. Let's continue our look at what to expect in the lead up to these Sarawak state elections. This after nominations closed today with 349 candidates contesting for 82 seats. Dr. Nadrawina Isnin is a senior lecturer at the Faculty of Administrative Science and Policy Studies at UiTM Sarawak. She joins us now. Dr. Najra, what did nomination day reveal to you about party dynamics in Sarawak, and particularly in terms of the choice of candidates and and how that reflects the strategy going into the elections?
Okay. First thing first is First thing first, there are 349 election candidates, and 45 are women candidates. And in terms of political parties, there are 10 political parties plus the independent candidates, about 30. Okay, before this we had 36, 2016, but now reduced to 30. So I would say that it will give more choices to the Sarawakians, especially Sarawakians, to cast their votes within in 2 weeks' time. So the dynamics is there. Choices are a lot for the rakyat. So it's quite a challenge, I would say, this time around, knowing the fact that there are no seats won uncontested.
Okay.
Dr. Nadra, do you think that if we look at the GPS slate, that this is also about the current chief minister consolidating his leadership over the coalition, considering that when the last Sarawak elections were held, it was his predecessor that took the then coalition into electoral battle. This is the first time Abang Jo is having to prove, as it were, his ability to deliver on the electoral front.
Yeah, it's a test to him, right? It's a test to him to show how far his leadership has actually compared to the previous leadership of the late Allahyarham Tok Nan. Yeah, Tok Nan, I just want to recall, yeah, Tok Nan, even though with a shorter period of time, he has done so much. However, we cannot deny the fact that Tan Sri, our CM, yeah, he has been in the battlefield as a candidate himself, I think, since for the past 38 years. So it seems that it is about time for him to actually look at his own capability, which I believe he has in terms of leadership, right? And you can see it in from the fact that there are election seats, seats that had been actually divided among the parties. So the consensus is one of the important factors for a good leadership, and he has shown that by announcing, if you notice, this time around he had announced those candidates, let's say face by face, and eventually today, this morning, all the candidates that had been given the opportunity to be the election candidate. So
Okay.
well, we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. Yeah.
But okay, this is the first time that GPS is going into an election as a registered coalition, right? They're going to be contesting under the GPS logo. Is that going to be an issue for voters, particularly because there were previously contesting under kind of component parties?
Okay, as far as I know, they had been going to the ground since early this year to introduce the new logo, right? And I've read so far since January when they first started it, and a few months ahead, people were still thinking about the old logo, right? But I believe that they have done much so far, and they still have another less than 2 weeks to make sure that their logo is recognizable. Now, this was another challenge actually, because there's another party, right? The opposition party who has a similar logo. It's just a matter of a difference of, there's just one difference there, but they are sharing the same logo in terms of the bird, right? The burung kenyalang that they have chosen. So I do hope that they have to work hard. Both parties have to work hard to make sure that the voters recognize which one is which one.
Dr. Nair, could you help us understand then the voter? is political literacy high in Sarawak? Meaning not just party identification, but also a sense of programs. Are they very demanding as voters? Are they easily swayed by gifts and handouts? What is or who is rather the Sarawak voter?
Who are the Sarawak voters? That is interesting to know. The thing is, I think one of the major setback, I would say, is due to the pandemic. Now we have gone to, we are into this stage of endemic. The worry about the last year's pandemic has its impact, you see. When it has its impact, then how much could these voters see this election as an important journey or important process for the next new government? So I think I'm a bit worried though, because they are so much caught up with what is going on, especially regarding life, regarding economy, yeah.
Okay, so on that note, Dr. Nadra, I want to ask you what your expectations are for voter turnout. If this is what you're saying about voter sentiment on the ground, the Election Commission is projecting a 70% voter turnout. Is that likely, in your opinion?
I hope so too. If we can beat PRN Malacca, so I think Sarawak, if and only if the voters are willing to share their votes by casting their votes, by giving their responsibility towards Sarawak, I believe that we can achieve that 70%. If it's not more than 70%, at least more than what Malacca has achieved. And we have, these 2 weeks, they really have to work hard. But they also have to consider the SOP, all right? Do not put our life in danger, okay? But the whole idea is the young voters especially, please go out and vote. It's your right. This is the only time for you to actually have your voices to be heard. It's the time. This is the time.
All right, thank you so much. Dr. Nadrawina Isnin from UiTM Sarawak there. We're going to take a quick break after this. More on the upcoming Sarawak elections. Stay tuned.
Amanah di tangan kita. Adat, budaya dan semangat menjadi kesinambungan perpaduan tanah air yang tercinta. Berteraskan adab yang terpahat di jiwa dan raga. Marilah bersama kita membina negara Malaysia.
Untuk memastikan Malaysia ada ke depan
kita boleh maju. Induknya adalah Melayu.
Balik kepada Islam. Orang yang membuat polisi.
Kalau itu yang dikehendaki, fine. Mungkin kita berbeza pandangan.
Tapi kita mempunyai kuasa yang boleh menentukan budaya di masa hadapan.
Polisi yang mesra wanita, sudah tentu dia akan datang daripada pemimpin wanita.
Asrama Mahat Tahfiz Jawaban.
Bila sentuh soal berita, tiada masa untuk tunggu. Kepada anda kami bawakan fakta, susulan dan kupasan yang terkini. Tiada drama dan tiada pengulangan. Usah tunggu lama-lama. AWANI 745 lebih awal dari biasa.
Hi, thank you so much for staying with Shran and I on Consider This. However, if you've just joined us on the show tonight, we're discussing the upcoming Sarawak state elections. Joining us now is David Bucket. He's a research officer with Undi Sarawak, which is a youth group that aims to raise awareness among youth with regards to political education. David, despite 18-year-olds not being allowed to vote in the Sarawak elections, do you still see young people playing a role in the campaign and also in the outcome of the election?
My answer will be yes and no at the same time, because personally, I still think that youth narrative is still comparatively weak in Sarawak as compared to urban narrative in West Malaysia. And this is also reflected on the list of candidates that's being announced today. And majority of the candidates are above the age of 40, and in other words, should I call them boomer generation. And for me, politics in Sarawak depends a lot on which party can bring more financial and material benefit towards its constituency. And I think it's mainly due to rural nature of Sarawak constituencies. And one important factor that we also need to keep in mind also, in some constituencies, personality is also a huge factor. And this can be seen in my own personal experience, which is in Krian, which is my voting constituency. And it is a rural constituency, and the incumbent itself is largely popular among local voters. And the age of the politician itself doesn't really matter as long as they are popular enough to gain supporters. But I think this nevertheless will differ if you're from urban constituency. But I personally think that the issue of only 18 won't give a major blow to the current status quo within Sarawak. And I think that development will thus remain the core narrative among the parties itself. And this can be seen in some of their manifestos that they are going to show in the next coming days.
So, David, if I understand you correctly, you're saying that it is really the politics of patronage that works for or underpins the popularity of the candidate. The candidate brings gifts or is able to deliver on a material basis for the constituents. Are there higher order concerns of Sarawakians? Say, for instance, corruption, abuse of power, the lack of a free media. Do these higher order concerns affect voter sentiment?
For me, if you're from urban area, yes, that will affect your current sentiment, because within urban, the mindset is clearly different from the mindset in rural, because they have the accessibility to access such materials about corruption, the lack of democratic participation in Sarawak. So I think it will be a major concern for the urban voters, particularly those educated voters. But I think that rural voters are still immune to such issue, because personally, I'm a rural voter, but I can see that why should I vote for, I need to vote for a YB that can give material benefit to my constituency, at least for a shorter term. But in my view, patronage politics is bad, but it is what the voters need at us for now, because we are being so used to such narratives, and we are relying on politicians to get the so-called pembangunan in the constituency. So I think patronage will still be a major role in this election, sadly.
Can I ask you, David, based on some of the feedback that you may be getting, do you think that minds are already made up, that perhaps this campaign period may not even matter all that much, and all the SOPs that have been put in place restricting certain, campaigning efforts, do you think that might not even make a change people's opinions, because they've already decided who they're going to vote for based on some of the things that you've said tonight?
I think based on what I'm not a political observer as far as I'm concerned, but I can see that status quo shall remain as of for today and for tomorrow and for the next few days until the result has been given out, and we will all know who will win this election. But what matters for me is how much the opposition can win and how they will function as a proper opposition in the next election. I think that matters the most for me, especially with regards to the opposition side. And for the government side, is how much they can win and how much they can deliver the promises they make. I think it is a written result already.
David, do you think if this election was held, say, next month, when 18-year-olds or 18 to 21-year-olds were allowed to vote, do you think it would have made a material difference to the outcome?
I think there will be some slight changes to the narrative itself, because parties need to accommodate the narrative in order to suit the youth's needs. But the outcome itself, I think the status quo we shall remain, because the youth itself needs some education on who to vote and what to vote, because the education itself is quite important in this regard, because we need to change the mindset before we can think that youth can change the world. I think we need to give them some form of political education first, if we can expect some material changes in this issue.
Right, David, thank you so much for joining us on the show tonight. David Bucket there from Undi Sarawak, wrapping up this episode of Consider This. I'm Melissa Idris.
And I'm Sharad Kuttan, signing off for the evening.
Thank you so much for watching, and good night.
Good night.